So many people will tell you that the best diet is one that you can stick to. And I disagree with that, because to me the best diet is the one that gets you the best results, makes you feel the best, and allows you to burn fat and keep muscle at the best rate. Now, of course, sustainability is a big component of that, and that happens to fall very much in line with the dieting approach that I advocate for. But in this video, I'm going to tell you why I believe ketogenic dieting is far superior to macro dieting on many levels, sustainability being one of them. Obviously, calories are the primary driver of fat loss, and a lot of people will tell you that all you need to manipulate is calories because of that. However, that's a very unsophisticated way to look at fat loss, and it's basically telling you that you only need to manipulate one variable in order to lose fat. And that can work for many people up to a certain point, because if you're very overweight or if you have a lot of fat to lose, you might only need to manipulate one variable, whether it's carbs or calories or probably those two. The thing is, if you are only manipulating your calories, eventually you're going to hit a plateau. And if you see anybody on YouTube who's a fitness or bodybuilder personality, when they do macro diets, eventually they get to a point where they are severely depleted and fatigued because their carbs are so low, but they're still on a carb-based metabolism. Now, just because calories are the primary driver of fat loss doesn't mean they're the only one. A carb-based metabolism is not inherently conducive to fat burning. And in fact, you're only burning fat at certain points in the day, when you're sleeping, when you're out in between meals, when there's a larger distance. And if you're trying to breach 10% body fat, or if you're trying to get to the really lean, ripped aesthetic area, you're going to need to manipulate more than one variable. So that means carbs and calories. And if you get really specific with it, then you can throw in fasting in the mix, then you can throw in, managing your insulin spikes in there. But the thing is, you need to at least be managing the carbs and the calories. And that's the ticket into the most powerful fat loss your body can do. People will try to sell you on only one variable you need to change because it's easy, right? If you want the best results, you need to manipulate multiple variables. And that's what I do in my ketogenic diet. So if you do a carb-based diet, no problems with that. You do what works for you, but eventually that's not going to run out. Same thing as if you do a no-carb diet, but you don't count your calories. Now, a carb-based metabolism doesn't necessarily make you feel the most full when you are depleting yourself of calories, because you're not only having higher blood sugars and stronger insulin responses. The thing is, your metabolism is craving carbs. That's what your body is using for fuel. When your body is deprived of fuel, it is going to crave fuel. And that's why you feel hungry. Compared to when you're on a ketogenic diet, you might not feel as hungry, because ketones are basically your body eating its own fat for fuel. So even if you're on lower calories, you'll feel less hungry because your body has access to other food stored on itself. And when you think of calories, I want you to think that you're manipulating your energy, because you're not just manipulating, the total energy in the day, as in calories. If you want the best fat loss, you need to manipulate the sources of energy, which includes carbohydrates and total calorie intake throughout the day. That's the key to managing a good diet, is managing multiple aspects of the energy you're taking in, not just the total amount. Now, satiety, of course, is important, like I said, and think of it as well as your body's only going to crave food when it needs food. So when you are eating stored fat, you can get away with eating less calories because your body still has access to its own food stored on itself. And ketones are kind of funny, because a lot of people will say that you're only going to get in ketosis when you're in starvation mode, but that is completely incorrect. Ketones are almost designed to be a perfect preservation fuel, because they make it way less likely that your body is going to use its own protein for energy, and way more likely that it's going to use its own fat. And having ketones in your blood has been shown to make your body less likely to use its own protein. And that makes a lot of sense, because when you're in a carb-based diet, your body may be more likely to use protein as energy, because your body can only turn protein into carbs. It can't turn protein into fat. And the thing is, when you're in need of energy, if you're on 100 carbs a day, or if you're trying to crack 150 a day still on a carb-based metabolism, you're not going to feel good. You're going to have less energy, feel worse, be more hungry. your body's going to be in more of a deprivation state. It's in more of a starvation state than ketosis ever would be, because ketosis is your body making sure it doesn't eat its own muscle and making sure it uses all the fat that you have stored. So when it comes to using energy and using protein as an energy source, your body is going to be not going to want to change the system it's using when it's fat based, because it's not going to need to turn carbs, or it's not going to need to make extra carbs from protein because it doesn't need carbs at all. Which also ties into insulin, because insulin is a carrier hormone in your body, and it's very important to understand if you want to get good fat loss results, because insulin is responsible for flushing protein and carbs into your muscles, and whenever there's insulin present in your body is not able to burn fat at the same time. So certain foods have higher insulin responses. Carbs are always going to have the highest insulin response. Proteins are next, however, they're not as high as carbs. Whenever you eat any food, you're going to have an insulin response because it needs to distribute things into your body. However, if you're having higher insulin spikes throughout the day from several carb meals, you're going to be more hungry and less likely to burn fat. Now, on your actual calories, all of them are not equal. All the calories from fats, protein, and carbs have different roles in your body, and they react differently in your body. And this is where the manipulation of carbs comes in, because carbs will have more insulin response, they'll have more different reaction in your body in terms of how your body uses energy. Cutting them out completely is going to force your body to pull from its own fat. If you had cut out all food together, your body would get into a deeper state of ketosis than a ketogenic diet, because your body is in full preservation mode. And this is the best way to burn fat, because you're changing your metabolism to solely burn fat. Your entire engine is geared to the setting where it is just burning fat and trying to preserve muscle. So it makes less sense to want to go onto a diet when you're not in that mode. And of course, you can still lose weight both ways. However, it's more efficient, and you'll notice on your performance if you get fat adapted that you're flying compared to any low calorie carb based diet. I've been dieting for 7 years, and I've always preferred the ketogenic diet after, failing so many times at macro-based diets. I've still gotten decent results from macro diets. However, to me, my body has always reacted better with the keto approach, and getting fat adapted has allowed me to have better performance benefits than any other macro diet I've ever had, especially as I get leaner. Because as you get leaner, you're going to need to deprive your body of energy again, right? This is where the whole viewing your total energy intake comes in. And when you have a low-calorie ketogenic diet, when you are fat adapted, your body's going to start storing carbs from excess proteins and from your daily small carb intake, and only use those for when your body needs them. And your body's not going to do that on a carb-based diet, because it's basically going to use those carbs as soon as it gets them. It's less efficient at using carbs, basically. You're going to be way more metabolically flexible on a fat-adapted keto diet, and you're going to be better at using carbs and fats when you're on a keto-adapted diet rather than a carb-based diet, because your body's going to try to just fuel everything it needs from carbs, which it has a limited amount of. Now, keto fat adaptation is keto in its final form. And when it comes to your performance benefits, you're going to get them primarily from that whole metabolic flexibility I just described. Of course, you're going to feel better if you have more calories. Of course, you're going to feel better if you have more fats in a ketogenic diet. However, you need to get to a balance, because a balance of fats and proteins in a keto diet is going to allow you to have the best fat loss results and the best performance results. A balance on the calorie-based, carb-based diet are a lot harder to hit because you're depriving your body of so much energy. Now, like I said, there aren't too many studies on fat-adapted keto athletes, but the ones that have existed have shown better results in terms of remaining muscle glycogen in keto athletes compared to non-fat adapted athletes. And there's too many studies on non-fat adapted keto athletes that show dips in performance, because at the end of the day, if you're not fat adapted, you're not going to get any performance benefits. The whole approach I'm advocating for is to get fat adapted, because that's going to allow you to see the best benefits. And if you are on a carb-based diet and you're trying to get really lean, you're going to get to a very lethargic point. You're going to go and watch the videos of Christian Guzman and all those guys, and they're going to feel like shit when they're trying to get really lean. For me, I've done it in the past, and I've enjoyed how I felt, and I've had very good fat loss and strength retention results. Now, and I'm going to show more videos of that too. I'm going to make more videos on the training and on the performance aspect of things. Now, I want you to wrap your head around the idea that it's better to deprive your body of energy when it's in a more conducive energy burning state. So if you're going to deprive your body of energy, you should want it to be in a state where it is ready to use its own energy. If you're not allowing yourself to dip into that state, then it's going to be a lot harder and a lot less enjoyable for you. Efficiency is a very important thing as well. The efficiency of fat burning is going to be better on a fat adapted metabolism. It literally means that your body is better at using fat, and it happens to be better at using carbs too. If you overload it though, with like 500 grams of carbs, you're going to feel like shit. But the point is, your body is better at using fat for energy. And if you're going to deprive yourself, you'd want it to be in that state. Now, in terms of actual health and rebounding, so in terms of actual nutrient quality in the diet, keto diets almost inherently force you to eat healthier foods. Of course, you can eat pounds of bacon every day, but the thing is, a lot of the options tend to be healthier. And what I mean by that is there tend to be more nutrient-dense, bioavailable sources of actual food you're forced to eat. Well, not forced to eat, you should be excited to eat, but when it comes to a macro diet, they don't inherently force you to eat healthy foods. Of course, you can eat bacon, like I said, on a keto diet all the time, but no one really does that. When it comes to a macro diet, oftentimes you'll see people on YouTube, I had my bowl of rice, my chicken breast, and my protein bar, and it's like, hey, there's no nutrient density in that. There's a little bit of water-soluble vitamins in the chicken breast, and of course you're getting good protein source from there, but that's also why you see people feel so shitty when they're doing those diets and they're at the very lean levels. If you want to truly break through, you should be feeling good. And the way you'll feel good is by more fat-soluble vitamins and more nutrient density in your foods. So that's going to come primarily from animal fats and animal proteins, and a good mix of green vegetables, which you're very inclined to be eating on a keto diet. And you'll probably find yourself eating those foods very often, as I do. Now, when it comes to the actual nutrient density of things on a macro-based diet as well, if you're only concerned about your energy needs, if you're only concerned about your energy, you're not going to prioritize health. And because you're going to feel so lethargic, because you're going to be so deprived of your body's primary energy source, you probably won't care about the health quality of your food. You're probably going to only concern yourself with getting your energy needs met. And your body's going to stimulate hunger responses just so you can get your energy requirements met. So at the end of the day, health is not necessarily a big concern of yours on a macro-based diet. They'll say, eat your fruits, eat a couple apples, get your micros in. The bioavailability of certain nutrients in fruits is not as high as terms of things of fatty animal meats and some organ meats or some good fatty fish. Those things are always going to have more nutrient density, and the limiting amounts of fat on these macro-based diets are really going to force you to not get any fat-soluble vitamins or really enough fat to really allow your body to absorb those vitamins. So those vitamins play such a key role in your satiety, they play such a key role in your hormone production and your testosterone, which is huge for men and women. And you're going to need to get a good amount of fat and fat-soluble vitamins, which is very hard to do on a macro diet without throwing off your calories. The last thing I'm going to say in this video is about rebounding. And rebounding is not something you have to worry about with a ketogenic diet, but it is something you always have to consider every time you're doing a large calorie restriction. And the main reason why I think keto is better for rebounding and avoiding it is because you need to think of this like an example with any sort of addiction to sugar or cigarettes or drugs of any kind. And sugar, especially processed sugar, is almost looked at like a drug addiction. And when it comes to comparing that to a drug addiction, think of someone who's a cigarette smoker. If you have somebody who smokes 10 cigarettes a day and you start dropping them to 4 cigarettes a day, obviously they're going to do better than if they had been smoking 10. However, anytime you have somebody still on the loop, on the feedback loop of having, a couple cigarettes a day, they're still going to have those cravings. So they're keeping those cravings in place. When you get rid of all of carbs altogether, your body is not going to be craving them because it's in a completely different metabolic system, which is the fat adaptation. As far as it concerns you for rebounding, you should always ease out of any diet. However, coming out of a diet where sugar is not constantly craved is not going to be any more likely to cause you to rebound than any sort of macro diet. So that's my 2 cents on rebounding. That's my 2 cents on the health benefits. And that's my overall summary and opinion on why I prefer ketogenic dieting and no carb dieting over macro based approaches. So if you learned anything of value in this video, please let me know, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something special from this video. So my name is Anthony Romano. Thank you for watching this video. Peace.